Men love going on missions. A quest, technically, is a long journey in search of something. So, you go on a quest to find the buried treasure. You go on a mission to save the damsel locked in the tower guarded by the evil dragon. So these terms are similar, but not exactly the same. You might even say that a quest is a mission with a puzzle attached. What we hate are pointless puzzles. Okay, we hate having to crack some complicated code when the answer could be easily obtained some other way. I know for me, as a man, actual puzzles in a box, I hate those. I'm not gonna do them because the picture of what the thing is on the box. It is the box. So why do I need to do it? I'm gonna spend 6 hours putting a puzzle together to just recreate the picture that's already right there. I don't see a point to it, so I don't wanna do it. In a relationship, a man gets frustrated when his wife wants something or is upset about something and won't just come out and say what it is. That's the kind of puzzle we hate because it's artificial, it's arbitrary. The woman is creating a puzzle and wasting our time and generating frustration and friction needlessly. But if there is a puzzle that actually needs to be solved in pursuit of some ultimate goal, some mission, well then we love that. That's a thrill. And this begins at the earliest ages. Pretty much all of a boy's daydreaming and make-believe revolves around him going on grand adventures and fighting bad guys and saving the day. Which that alone tells you almost everything you need to know about the innate differences between boys and girls and men and women, starting with the fact that there are innate differences that go beyond the physical. There are also these innate psychological and I would say spiritual differences. Maybe every once in a while you'll have a girl that does this kind of make-believe thing where she's fighting bad guys, but I've never even seen that. But for boys, this just comes natural. It's all they ever do. And that continues even into adulthood, by the way, in terms of the daydreaming and everything that even grown men do. Now, you see it in more everyday ways also. The other day, I had to run to Lowe's to get some bags of sand. Not a very exciting trip. Just had to get some bags of sand. My 2 older boys were begging to go with me. And anytime I run an errand, they want to come because I got a little mission I have to go do, and they want to come with me. This is also something I've noticed with my youngest sons who just turned 2. And because they're 2, if you kind of shout to them across the room and tell them to come over to you, the response is quite mixed. They might come. Most of the time, they'll just sort of stare at you uncomprehendingly and disinterested and then carry on with whatever they're doing, playing with trains or whatever. But I found that if I ask them to bring me something, well, then they'll grab the thing and run right to me. Coming over to dad isn't a mission, but grabbing that random object over there and bringing it to dad, that is a mission. So many times I'll say, hey buddy, come over here, come here. And he's just staring at me, hey, go grab me that ball and bring it over. And he gets up and runs for the ball and brings it over. This is how boys are wired from birth. Now the only risk in this idea that men love quests, or as I would put it, men love missions, is that it can take on a patronizing tone. If you take it the wrong way, you might think that the way to keep a man happy is just to constantly give him little tasks to complete and then clap and pat him on the head like he's a 2-year-old who just picked up the ball and brought it to you. That may work for toddlers, but not for grown men. Because a man loves going on a mission for the reason that it has a purpose. And men need to have a sense of purpose. There are 2 ways to break a man's spirit. One is to give him nothing to do at all. A man with no mission in life is a man in despair. It's one of the reasons why a lot of men retire and then die a year later, because they have no mission. The other way is to give him something to do with no clear sense of why he's doing it. Not having any task to complete can be soul-crushing for a man, but having a pointless task can be even more soul-crushing. A mission is not a mission unless there's an objective, and a man needs to have an objective. He needs to have little objectives throughout his day and then larger ones that he pursues over the course of months and years. A man with no objectives, no missions, is again a man in a state of total despair. Bringing this back to the context of marriage and family, this is all really a long way of saying that men are providers. This is the ultimate mission that gives his life a sense of purpose. It's the point that lies behind even the tasks that would otherwise seem pointless. Okay, a man sitting in a cubicle and punching numbers into a computer all day may feel like his job has no grand purpose, and maybe it doesn't. But if he has a family to provide for, then that is the grand purpose. And that alone makes the job at least tolerable. Men love quests and missions because we are born to be providers. It's what we need to do. It's what society needs us to do. Now, of course, I'll be told, as we so often are, that women can also provide. And that's true. I mean, a woman can certainly, in this day and age, get a job, earn a paycheck, support her family. That can happen. It sometimes does happen. But women, generally speaking, can also be happy, and I would say most of the time happier, without the pressure of being the breadwinner and provider. And society, as history has clearly shown, can function very well when men play the provider role nearly exclusively. The same is not true the other way around. Most men cannot be happy when their wives are the ones carrying the burden of providing. And the wives cannot be happy either. Not just unhappy. I mean, I would be in agony if I was at home and relying on my wife to support our family. It would literally kill me. And that's the case for most men. I mean, this is why the stay-at-home dad arrangement doesn't work. It can only work if a man finds a way to stifle and suffocate that innate part of himself that calls him to go out into the world and take on the mission of providing for his family, which is to say, it works only if the man spiritually and psychologically deforms himself, which is to say, it doesn't actually work. So unless a man is somehow incapacitated or severely disabled in some way, he should not be relying on his wife to provide for him and their children. To choose such a life is shameful. A man can only pretend that he's not ashamed, but the more he pretends, the more his shame comes through. On a societal level, there's no evidence that a society can function, much less thrive, when the women are the primary providers. No such society has ever existed in the history of the civilization, or could exist, for very long at least, and we know that from history. It's a basic truth of male psychology, and it's a fundamental building block of human civilization.